For the last several weeks, these inmates from Angola have been in northwest Louisiana building this chapel at Fort Wade. But before you can fully understand the meaning of this building, you need to understand its history. The year was 1990. 20-year-old Todd Bass shot and killed his probation officer and shot and wounded Mansfield police officer Gary Hobbs. Hobbs returned fire, hitting Bass 5 times. The convicted cop killer is currently serving a life sentence at Angola. For several years, Hobbs, now a captain with Mansfield PD, harbored nothing but hate for Bass. That all changed in 2004 when he went to visit him in prison.
I didn't really know what to expect. My memories of him was staring down a pistol barrel. Not pleasant, because there was no peace or no joy in my life whatsoever.
Hobbs had recently been saved and says the Lord was calling on him to forgive Bass for what happened. Pastor Troy Terrell was there for that first visit.
We didn't know what to expect at all. We didn't know if this young man would hate him. We just knew that Gary just knew this is the right thing to do.
Little did Hobbs know, but Bass had been saved as well. He says he'll never forget that fateful day.
I think it was on Tuesday morning, and they woke me up out of sleep about 8:30 and told me I had a visit.
Bass says words can't explain what happened next.
This young man, after he realized who Gary Hobbs was, began to weep. And this is what he said, and I'll quote it. He said, "I've been waiting 15 years for you to come see me." And he says, "I need to tell you something." And Gary says, "Well, I need to tell you something." And they both at the same time began to say, "I need you to forgive me." And it was one of the absolutely greatest things on forgiveness I've ever seen in my life.
He shot me, and I forgive him for that, and I've told him that.
But Hobbs needed to be forgiven too. As strange as it may sound, he needed Bass to forgive him for hating him for more than a decade.
As bad as it is, I questioned why he didn't die that night, why the good guy had to die and the bad guy got to live. And I wish, I mean, as horrible as it is to say, for a long time that something bad would happen to Todd while he was in jail. So I needed to tell him that.
We sat down and had a nice conversation.
That conversation soon turned into one of the most unlikely friendships ever.
It's odd that an inmate at Angola, the only person he trusts to have his back is the man he shot and the man who shot him. It's absolutely supernatural. There's no other way to explain it other than just God.
The same explanation for this chapel being built. It's one of two that started with 2 words: you're forgiven. During their visit back in '04, Pastor Terrell learned of the need for a chapel at the women's prison. He not only raised enough money for that one, he had enough left over to start this one at Fort Wade. He's hoping it will serve the same needs.
When we come to do a service here, and there's hundreds of women in here, just because of Gary Hobbs' obedience and forgiveness with this inmate, changes these women's lives and then changes kids' lives. It's like a domino effect. That's how powerful forgiveness is.
Forgiveness is absolutely biblical. It's supernatural. It comes from the heart. It's not something that's, you can make it up, but it's not real. I mean, it's just fake. And when it's sincere, it's unbelievable what can happen from it. And he said, if you really want to change people and make a difference, we need to get a chapel built at LCIW.
And what's happened has changed more lives than anyone could have ever imagined.
That just shows the power of God, how He works. And like it says in Romans, God works through everything meant for the bad for the good, and works out for the good. All you got to do is trust Him. And I think that's a sign of His power and His being present in people's lives.
Todd Bass's prison cell sits just 300 yards from this chapel. And even though he's never seen it, he says he can feel it all around.